On July 12, 2023, at the intersection of Main Street and Elm Avenue in Springfield. It was a warm, golden afternoon, with the sun casting its gentle glow over the city as everyone wrapped up their busy day and headed home. The intersection of Main Street and Elm Avenue appeared calm and routine, until it suddenly became the stage for a noisy and comical traffic accident. The traffic light had just turned green, and everything seemed perfectly normal, until a white car sped through and collided directly into the rear of another vehicle, as if it were participating in a local Formula One speed race. And the star of this chaotic incident? None other than Kayla, a woman with a need-for-speed mindset and a temper as fiery as a nuclear reactor. What started as a simple fender bender quickly spiraled into a symphony of chaos, complete with shouting, car horns, and tense conversations between Kayla and the police. Nobody anticipated that this minor accident would lead to such a high-pressure investigation with so many unexpected twists. Kayla was in a state of extreme urgency, a mood that could be explained by a variety of reasons. Perhaps she was thinking about the mouth-watering fried chicken waiting for her at dinner after a long, stressful workday. Or maybe she had just watched the latest Terminator episode on YouTube and had become overly excited by the thrilling action scenes and adrenaline-pumping car chases. Whatever the reason, Kayla had completely lost focus on the most basic rule of driving, paying attention to safety and the conditions of the road ahead. As the traffic light turned green, all seemed ready for cars to roll forward and continue their journey. But in Kayla's mind, the situation had morphed into a high-speed, adrenaline-fueled race, unexpected and completely out of control. Instead of maintaining a safe distance and following standard driving habits, she slammed the gas pedal, as if she were about to enter a brutal car race. Crash! The sound was deafening, like a dramatic score in a Hollywood action film, complete with sound effects and visual spectacle. The powerful collision sent both cars smashing together in the middle of the road, dust and debris flying up into the pale yellow glow of the streetlights. It looked like a dramatic yet comical scene straight out of a low-budget action movie, complete with all the surprise and chaos that one could expect. Kayla and her car came to rest right in the middle of the intersection, surrounded by a chaotic flurry of cars, flashing headlights, and constantly changing traffic lights. The scene resembled a high-stakes action movie, only lacking the dramatic soundtrack and explosions. Both drivers found themselves shocked and disoriented, unsure of how they had ended up in this sudden mess. The collision didn't just damage both vehicles, it also added to the overwhelming noise and confusion. Car horns blared, shouts rang out from other drivers, and the sound of screeching engines mixed with the dust and debris. This small accident quickly became the center of attention, with Kayla standing out as the main character in this unexpected and chaotic drama. From a single moment of distraction and haste, Kayla managed to transform what would have been an ordinary afternoon into a chaotic scene straight out of an action movie, with herself as the lead star in this bizarre collision. The crash was no mere traffic accident. It was a vivid testament to how carelessness and rushing can spiral into events that are both uncontrollable and unforgettable. Right after the sound of impact rang out, Kayla felt as though she had been propelled from her driver's seat by the force of a rocket. She let out a loud, piercing scream as though the end of the world had just arrived. "Hey, why didn't you go when the light was green? Are you deaf?" Her voice broke through the air, a cacophony of anger and panic, enough to shake the mood of everyone nearby. But unfortunately, no one could hear her words other than the blaring sirens of emergency vehicles and the sharp sounds of police car doors opening as the investigation unfolded. The other driver involved in the crash remained unresponsive, focused solely on assessing the state of his vehicle and maintaining his composure amidst the chaos. Kayla, however, seemed to have been endowed with supernatural energy akin to Spider-Man's after a supercharged cup of coffee. She leapt out of her vehicle with a speed that could have won her a marathon that afternoon. She didn't even spare a glance at the wreckage lying behind her, nor did she take into consideration any warnings or the imminent dangers of her actions. Instead, Kayla was solely focused on fleeing the scene, running as though her very life depended on it, like a seasoned athlete caught in the worst possible situation. The police spotted Kayla's actions almost immediately and quickly advanced to intervene. They tried to calm her, hoping reason would prevail, but speaking to her at this point seemed utterly futile. "Kayla, calm down. We just need your insurance information." But their words fell on deaf ears, absorbed by the whirlwind of Kayla's own panic and anger. With tearful frustration and rising agitation, she screamed back, "No. You can't arrest me. I'm in the middle of dinner, and I missed my fried chicken. Let me go." Her words were equal parts ridiculous and heartbreaking, as if she were trying to justify herself over a single missed meal, specifically fried chicken, despite the dire circumstances. The fried chicken, it seemed, became her sole excuse to resist, an almost comedic priority in this scene of chaos, even as the situation spiraled further out of control. Indeed, what followed was a performance of unparalleled absurdity. Kayla wasn't merely involved in a car crash, she was putting on an entire dramatic show. Her panicked shouting, paired with her attempts to flee the scene as the crashed car sat motionless behind her, made it feel like a hilarious, action-packed comedy movie. The scene was a perfect mix of panic, rebellion, and slapstick action, combining every possible element of chaos. Kayla's resistance did nothing but complicate matters for the police. Every attempt to reason with her was futile, their words lost in the wind like whispers on an empty street. Rather than cooperating or addressing the situation calmly, Kayla chose to dive further into her state of panic, complicating the entire investigation. Her refusal to remain rational led to an impressive display of chaos, blending anger, fear, and frustration in a manner that baffled onlookers and officers alike. Clearly, Kayla's actions not only caused problems for the police but left bystanders scratching their heads and bewildered at her erratic and theatrical behavior. Was this simply a result of overwhelming stress that day, or was Kayla's mental state unstable? This question would soon become the focus of further investigation. When the accident occurred, the police were quick to arrive at the scene to investigate and sort through the details. However, they quickly learned that their task would be far more challenging than anticipated. Kayla, who was at the center of this chaotic incident, was in a complete state of panic and mental instability. She continued to scream uncontrollably, her body trembling as though she had just survived an earthquake, with every sign suggesting that she was prepared to flee the scene at a moment's notice. The officers did their best to stay calm and de-escalate the situation by approaching her gently and offering reassurances. "Calm down, ma'am. We just need your insurance information to sort out the details of this accident." But their attempts to pacify her only seemed to make things worse. Kayla's emotional state was like a deflating balloon, impossible to control or contain. She kept shouting, flailing her arms, and demonstrating an urgent desire to escape the scene, as though she were fleeing a supernatural force or some unexplained cosmic threat. Notably, trying to gather her insurance information proved to be a near impossible task. Every time the police brought up the subject, Kayla flatly refused, her voice loud with indignation. "You can't arrest me. I don't need roads, I need fried chicken." This statement was equal parts nonsensical, absurd, and comedic, a manifesto of sheer panic. Kayla's words were difficult to process, and yet they revealed a bizarre and almost surreal focus: fried chicken. In the midst of the chaos of a car crash and an investigation, her mind seemed singularly fixated on the idea of her missed fried chicken dinner. Kayla wasn't merely at the center of a car accident. She had now become the central figure in a surreal comedy, like a character plucked from the pages of a chaotic action comedy. Her panic, combined with her refusal to cooperate, had painted her not just as a victim of a collision but as a dramatic, almost comedic storm of emotions: fear, anger, confusion, and hunger. The situation only escalated as she continued to resist police efforts to reason with her. Her actions, fueled by panic and the intensity of her emotions, created confusion and frustration among officers and witnesses alike. Kayla's dramatic, chaotic reaction became not only an obstacle to resolving the incident, but also a bizarre event that no one would soon forget. Was she under too much pressure, or had she simply slipped into a psychological state that spiraled out of control? That question remained unanswered as the investigation moved forward. But one thing was certain: Kayla had turned a simple traffic collision into a full-blown, action comedy-like event, complete with shouting, resistance, and her fried chicken obsession. The police didn't know how to handle the situation. They tried to stay calm and prevent the situation from escalating into a physical altercation, but Kayla seemed completely unable to control herself. Her display of chaos was so extreme that the officers nearly believed she was performing in a dramatic action movie scene. Tense, thrilling, and as intense as a car rollover in a blockbuster Hollywood film. Indeed, this incident was far from being just an ordinary car accident. Instead of merely addressing information and proceeding with the necessary steps, the police had to contend with a completely panicked woman willing to take any risk to escape the investigation and avoid having to provide information. Kayla not only crashed into another car but also demonstrated a remarkable ability to ruin everything, earning her the unofficial title, the Lady of All Problems. Clearly, in a tense and serious incident like this one, Kayla created a situation that was not just shocking and puzzling but also darkly comedic in its absurdity. Authorities not only had to investigate the car accident but also had to deal with Kayla's unique panic performance throughout the investigation. The penalties imposed. After a prolonged period of arguing, shouting at the police, and blocking traffic with her uncooperative behavior, Kayla ultimately faced a list of frightening penalties. Her attempts to avoid responsibility and refusal to provide necessary information were ultimately futile. As a result, Kayla was hit with a series of fines, which could easily rival the costs of a fully catered wedding banquet. Driving at an unsafe speed under unsafe conditions, $136.60. Kayla was found driving at a speed deemed inappropriate, particularly given the road and traffic conditions at the time. This action was considered reckless, not just putting herself at risk but also endangering others on the road. With a $136.60 fine, this would certainly strain her finances in the near future. Following too closely behind another vehicle, $250. Not only was she found speeding, but Kayla was also charged with following too closely behind the car in front, a serious traffic violation that greatly increases the risk of collisions. This fine of $250 serves as a stark warning, highlighting the need for drivers to maintain a proper and safe distance between their vehicle and others on the road. Operating a vehicle without insurance, but later dropped because she did, in fact, have insurance but refused to provide information in her panic. One of the most notable aspects of this incident was Kayla's initial claim of having no insurance. This further escalated the situation until the investigation revealed that, indeed, Kayla did have insurance. However, due to her overwhelming panic and confusion during the investigation, she refused to share this information, complicating her case. Although this fine was eventually dropped, it serves as a key lesson. Always stay calm and cooperate with law enforcement during emergencies. Besides these standard traffic violations, Kayla was also noted by investigators for exhibiting out-of-control, uncooperative behavior during the investigation. This behavior was considered unacceptable in the context of a car accident, only intensifying the situation. Her constant yelling, refusal to follow instructions, and overall combative attitude severely disrupted the investigation, preventing officers from effectively carrying out their duties. This only cemented why Kayla was deemed uncooperative and out of control during this unfortunate event. The victim's account. The driver of the car that Kayla crashed into from behind, who was panicked but still managed to remain composed enough to provide information to the police, stated that the accident did not cause significant physical damage. His car was still operational, and there weren't major damages, but what remained unforgettable to him was the tense, chaotic atmosphere following the accident. He recounted. She was yelling as if she had just discovered that Thanos was preparing to destroy the entire world and was trying to flee like a marathon runner. Although this phrase, Thanos preparing to destroy the entire world, may sound humorous or overblown, it perfectly encapsulates the extreme panic that Kayla exhibited. Her screams seemed to shatter the quiet of the afternoon, startling not only the other driver but also bystanders in the area. She continued to yell without restraint and displayed a complete lack of control, fully disinterested in exchanging information or trying to calm the tense atmosphere following the accident. Instead of stopping to work with law enforcement or cooperate in resolving the incident, Kayla chose to flee the scene in full panic, running like an untrained athlete trying to escape the situation. Witnessing this only left the other driver feeling shocked and helpless as he watched her behavior unfold, unable to believe that such a situation could escalate into something so dramatic. The aftermath of the crash felt like an unthinkable scene of chaos, with Kayla's shouting and overall hysteria turning the accident scene into a dramatic battle zone that affected everyone nearby. The tension following the collision didn't just impact the participants involved in the accident, but also startled and worried bystanders in the vicinity. Police officers, upon arriving at the scene, struggled to calm Kayla and proceed with their investigation, as she remained too panicked and uncooperative to allow them to carry out their tasks effectively. This created a surreal scene, where the sounds of her frantic yelling became the backdrop for an otherwise ordinary accident scene, transforming it into a chaotic event that law enforcement struggled to contain. Kayla's inability to maintain composure or cooperate had made this situation far worse than necessary, something the police would have to address during the investigation. The strange thing is that, although the physical damage was minimal, Kayla's behavior created a powerful effect as if she were engaged in an epic battle or running away from a life-threatening threat. Her panic and attempt to flee left everyone questioning, was there something hidden behind this dramatic performance? Or was it a manifestation of a conflicted and out-of-control mental state? It was indeed a situation that was both humorous and tense, but sufficient to make the police and local residents remember the story of Kayla's dramatic and unexpected display. For the driver of the vehicle that was hit, this story would undoubtedly be an unforgettable tale for the rest of their life. One of the key factors that caught the attention of investigators and gave them headaches during this case was the question of Kayla's mental and psychological state at the time of the accident. Authorities could not ignore the possibility that she might have been under the influence of an unidentified stimulant, which could explain her erratic behavior and excessive agitation during the investigation. The police involved in the incident shared their suspicions that Kayla might have consumed something that strongly impacted her mind and ability to maintain control. Could it have been a familiar beverage like bubble tea with an unusual flavor? Or perhaps an energy drink with a unique formula from a newly opened store? Investigators even joked about whether Kayla had accidentally consumed a magical energy drink or a strange substance akin to the ones used by witches in fairy tales. These speculations left the police in a mix of seriousness and humor because Kayla not only exhibited a state of panic throughout the incident, but also refused to cooperate and reacted in ways that were inexplicable. It appeared as if her mind was not entirely clear or that she was in a state of extreme psychological confusion, unable to focus on resolving basic issues such as providing insurance information and cooperating with investigators. This further led investigators to tread carefully while delving into Kayla's personal history and habits. Was this an unusual habit, or simply a reflection of her unstable mental state? Or had she indeed come into contact with something entirely beyond the control of law enforcement? In short, the suspicion that Kayla might have been affected by an unidentified substance added another layer of complexity and intrigue to this already chaotic case. However, alongside these theories and police hypotheses, the final answer regarding Kayla's psychological state and behavior remains unclear as investigations continue. Until then, the mystery of the bubble tea or the energy drink with magical powers remains an open, humorous, and puzzling question. Kayla left the scene of the accident with a bewildered and confused expression, her hands trembling as she clutched 4 tickets that the police had just handed to her. This was not a humorous performance, but rather the result of a perfect storm of speed, impatience, and a refusal to cooperate when the situation became tense. With a list of offenses and fines that looked like an insurance company business card, Kayla couldn't help but wonder how she would deal with the aftermath. As she looked at the list in her hand, a mixture of anxiety and humor rose within her. Despite the 4 tickets and the endless questions from the police, she couldn't help but blame herself for her distraction and nervousness in a dangerous situation. Kayla thought to herself about the hard lesson she had learned. I don't know why, but next time, I'll definitely have to learn my lesson before watching YouTube and driving at the same time. That was the self-reflection Kayla had just invented in her mind, a mix of self-anger and awareness about her habit of distraction in daily life. Surely, in the future, every time she found herself watching a funny video on YouTube before driving, she would remember this collision as a living testament to the saying, "Driving and entertainment should never go hand in hand." From this humorous yet chaotic story, we can draw some valuable life lessons about daily habits and road safety. Do not get distracted while driving. Kayla was both driving and watching a video on YouTube, which directly caused the accident. This demonstrates how distractions and lack of focus when operating a vehicle can lead to serious and unnecessary consequences. Always ensure you are fully focused on driving and the surrounding environment. Cooperation is crucial when facing authorities. Even if you are dissatisfied with the outcome or the situation, staying calm and cooperating with the police or other authorities can ensure the situation proceeds quickly and effectively. Kayla's strong and uncooperative response only complicated the situation further. Admitting fault and learning from mistakes. Instead of blaming external circumstances or others, admitting mistakes and learning lessons can lead to personal growth. Kayla acknowledged that she needed to change her habits and learn from this incident. This is an important reminder. Taking responsibility is the first step towards self-improvement. Control your emotions in high-stress situations. Confusion, anger, and panic can make situations worse. Kayla's panic and anger during the accident not only increased tension but also made the investigation more difficult. The lesson here is simple. Remain calm, think clearly, and act wisely in stressful situations. Every action has consequences. Even small mistakes or moments of carelessness can lead to consequences, such as fines, wasted time, and a tarnished reputation. Kayla received multiple fines and now faces a less-than-stellar reputation in her community. This highlights the importance of careful consideration before taking action. Ultimately, Kayla's story serves as a light-hearted yet heartfelt reminder for all of us. Driving is a serious responsibility, and small habits like watching videos, losing focus, or failing to cooperate in tense situations can lead to unintended and chaotic outcomes.